coming to the end of the apocalyptic theme, we have none other than Zorc Necrophades, the big living embodiment of evil and darkness and shadows of Yu-Gi-Oh! Complete with dragon head dick. I mean, that's just crazy. But all around, the whole act about his character, being within the Millennium Ring and just pretty much orchestrating a lot of the acts, of Yami Bakura throughout the series, just completely running all his stuff in the back and slowly getting towards, full resurrection. He didn't care about, losing a battle. It was like, oh no, it's not like, oh, I lose once and I'm out. And that's someone more like Merrick. Well, Merrick's was like, he lost through proxies and they didn't really count since they weren't his actual deck. But here you have Zorc, who, through Bakura is like, whatever. Every single time you end up taking him out, quote unquote, he comes back. I mean, he literally is, the physical manifestation of like darkness and evil. And as long as, humans exist, anything exists that can spawn like evil and negative emotions and their own kind of malefic aspects, he will come back. And legitimately, as you can see here, the god creator of light, the god creator, the literal, pretty much the creator. I mean, I was trying to think of something better than creator. The forger, the absolute, craftsman of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Multiverse, Horikiri. When she annihilated Zorc from existence, it didn't even hold. This is a character who, she was capable of creating multiverses in seconds. You see at the beginning of Dark Side of Dimensions, like thousands of universes just spawn into existence. And there wasn't enough for that level of power applied to him to hold him down, because he just keeps coming back. I mean, when we saw him make a bit of a return in Dark Side of Dimensions through the ring, it seems that as long as, again, people exist, he's going to return. He's going to just always be back and manifest. So with that, it makes me really interested, because the next series, Series 7, they said was going to be an anniversary series. And he himself, as he is, with the anniversary series, he would be a really cool character for the main characters to all team up on. If there is some form of crossover, maybe, getting the villains to manifest and come back. I know that at the end of GX, Darkness, Night Shroud, he said this kind of the same thing, which makes me think that maybe he's some form of maybe spawn of Zorc. I know that the third series with 5Ds was its own kind of pull away thing, and everything after that was in its own universe. But with Zorc and Night Shroud, and I know his original one is Darkness, but I like Night Shroud better. I mean, I like the dub names a lot more than the sub names. Just saying. With that, the whole GX felt way more like a direct continuation, really. Well, not continuation, sequel to the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think that just having that more connection would just add on to that. But anyway, about Zorc himself, he was absolutely just a monster. Not in just like the actual physical being, like he's just this giant, terrifying demon with a dragon head for a dick, but he just wanted to every single second just belittle everything around him. He just wants to always hype himself up, just intimidate everything. And the thing about it that I really liked is he still was this complete and total raw bad guy without it coming off really as cheesy. He was able to have that just, I'm evil, deal with it, that's it, kind of like thing. He didn't have some dark past. He didn't have some twisted decision along his line that turned him there. He's literally the manifestation of bad things in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Multiverse. He's the ruler of essentially what is the Shadow Realm in the dub, but in the original, it's just hell. It's just the afterlife, where damned souls go. And this dude, every single sentence, he talks about like beats from his wings will tear flesh from the bones of mortals, and every single step that he takes will rend the earth and bring absolute pretty much decimation and genocide for them. And here he is, interestingly enough, and I keep kind of fumbling over that because I've been wanting to talk about him for a while, because I am a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan. I think anybody who frequents my channel knows that I'm a fan of like Fairy Tail, Black Clover, Eden Zero. But Yu-Gi-Oh is, I think, the oldest series that I really fanned over. Like, I enjoyed Pokemon growing up, I enjoyed Dragon Ball, Digimon, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Was just that complete hype machine that always just got me stoked up to get into, because it just, episode after episode was just so much fun, and, well, except Capsule Monsters. No one likes Capsule Monsters. And then, you know, the one thing that I think everybody that's ever heard of Yu-Gi-Oh! Knows is Exodia. And this dude one-shot Exodia. He straight cut him in half. This giant demon god, like monster of the sands, rose up to fight against Zorc with the help of some of the members of Atem is like his crew. I'm trying to remember what it was, the older version of Yugi's grandpa, Solomon Moto. I'm trying to remember what his Egyptian name was. It doesn't matter. You know, he summons up Exodia to fight Zorc, and, you know, you're like, oh shit, Exodia. I remember this guy. Like, he was a big deal. Like, a lot of people know about him, and I think a lot of people still think that he's like top dog of Yu-Gi-Oh! Not even close. And then here comes up Zorc, who seems to be struggling with him for a moment, and then just splits the dude in half. And in the dub, not the dub, rather, the anime version, he ends up fighting, like, the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and then Dragon Master Knight. It, you know, gets a lot more crazy. But for him as he was, I think his character was perfect for the way that he was built up. Because again, he wasn't like some, oh, you need to understand all this, like, backstory about me, understand why I'm like this, you know, maybe sympathize with me or not. He was just a straightforward, I am a giant, menacing, living apocalypse, and if you guys don't take me down here, the world is going to end. And I like characters like that. It all depends on how it's handled. Like, Acnologia originally felt like that, you know, then we got his backstory, and I did really like his backstory. But, you know, we got the War Devil and Black Clover, and he just was kind of that similar position of just this giant monstrous wall of evil and, like, malice. But he didn't have even close to the same presence as Zorc did. I mean, this guy who was, you saw like a little pseudo version of him in like season 0 when we found out about him. Like, one of his versions is actually a card. Like, that's, if you look up the card for Zorc, that's the one that he looked like in season 0 when they did more of like a straight tabletop game. That's probably, you know, what the author Takahashi was referencing when he had Bakura and Atem use like this big, more tabletop style game, more of like straight just D&D-esque layout in order to battle, rather than using Duel Monsters cards. And there, you know, he was still pretty spooky, but I think this giant, like, pretty much jacked Satan with a dragon dick just added a whole extra flair to him. But man, I want to see the art style of Takahashi now drawing, because if you've seen like some of his newer designs and newer art style, man, like, he would look so cool. He needs to give him like a legit new version of this character. Maybe not like oh, I'm gonna rewrite everything, but just straight like draw. I just want to see a drawing of Zorc in his new art style. But yeah, that dude, he just had such a presence. Like, you just did not feel like there was any way to defeat him. Like, the gods were nothing to him, you know, every single thing that he ever came across, he just seemed to stomp over and destroy. Unfortunately for him, he is not powerful enough to beat the creator of all of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Multiverse. I mean, he's strong, but he's not that strong. I mean, there's definitely characters, like, outside of the original universe that, you know, would be somewhat, you know, you'd assume you'd be able to take him. Maybe someone like, well, I was gonna say Zark, because for some reason they decided in Arc 5 to have another giant demonic being and name him Zark. I don't know why they did that, but whatever. Maybe they're just trying to give a callback to the original. But I legitimately think that Zorc would be able to beat him. I mean, maybe someone like the Supreme King, you know, something like that. I mean, obviously Atem, anybody around that kind of like super powered main character version. I mean, really, I see what that. You know, maybe you stay with the Crimson Dragon, but all in all, like, the dude he just oozes out final boss. Like, nothing about him seemed like, oh yeah, what's next for this? Obviously, we did get, you know, way later with Dark Side of Dimensions. I'm not counting GX because in that statement, because GX was a different story, not really about you know, Yugi and his friends, Atem and crew. It was, you know, its own thing. Whereas Dark Side of Dimensions, you know, came up years after the end of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was able to open up a lot of new doors, as well as showing that Zorc could easily come back as long as he's able to just get that darkness and malice manifested. But anyway, comment below, like, legitimately, like, did anyone else read the manga? I know in the dub, they had that really shitty, like, censorship of Zorc, where they just made, like, the dragon head more of, like, a giant bulbous black pyramid on him, so the dragon head was, like, right at the end. Man, they could have made that so much better, or maybe, like, added, I don't know, maybe just made it more like he had, like, a squid lower body or something, but he looks so silly if you look up what he looks like in the dub. If you've never watched the Yu-Gi-Oh original dub, you've only watched the sub or read the manga, look him up, because I did think that part was like, wow, you guys really went overboard at trying to censor this guy. Like, I don't think there's any parts other than that that really just reeks censorship. I mean, you get stuff like, oh, you know, censoring guns and whatnot, but I think they did a pretty good job at making it, even though, you know, you look back and are like, man, it's obvious now just looking at it. You don't realize as your kid. Just looking at Zorc the way he was, you know, back in, because it didn't even look like, they didn't even add, like, muscles to it. They literally just looked, they took a paintbrush and just made a big triangle, like, between the end of the dragon head and Zorc's body, and just painted it black. And it's like, all right, there we go. He's just a big chunky boy. I mean, all it really would need to do is push him over. Maybe that's what the wings were for in that version. But anyway, comment below, tell me what you thought about the character. I mean, with him, again, there's not a lot to go over, like, oh yeah, like, all this backstory on him. I mean, we know that he's, you know, he's this physical manifestation of evil. It was more fun to talk about exactly, like, his existence in the series and just that level of presence he had. Because when you get to that final boss, they really should feel like a final boss. You know, this is where the series ends. I mean, something like Dark Side of Dimensions, it's like, hey, I'm going to do a little bit of a continuation way later down the line. You know, a bit different, but when you're like, this is the end of, you know, the original run, you're going to want to have some big, threatening behemoth of a boss character, and Zorc did exactly that. But other than that, comment below, tell me what you thought about this character and the series, and I really appreciate you thumbs up the video, press the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Also, you know, just as a bonus thing for anybody who's made it near this this far in the video, tell me if you play Yu-Gi-Oh. Tell me what your favorite deck is. You know, mine has may have something to do with some red eyes, fusions. But anyway, thanks everyone for listening, and everyone who's already subscribed. Bye.